Hello, CT.
Hey Jerry.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Pod. It's been a while with our busy schedules. Missed a few weeks in there,
Been a
but it's
minute.
okay. We
Good
got
to be
everybody
back.
for week 5. I mean, we try and do this when we can, and now we've seen some elite teams like RO, who's 4-0, and then we've seen some teams kind of fall to the bottom. Poor Bryson hasn't even eclipsed 300 points yet, and I think last night he had someone go off on his bench, right? Yeah, Kurt for
Yeah.
47. He could have used that.
500
That
passing yards,
stinks.
Jerry.
That's insane. I was playing Jack in college football last night. I did not see that game going to overtime. I thought it was over when I started playing and looked at the final score, and I was like, dang, Baker lost. That sucks. Should
Yeah,
not have lost that game.
Bucky Irving fumbled on a when they were grinding the clock out, and Irving fumbled. He had to just taken out of his hands,
Yeah.
and they were able to march back into field goal range. And Koo redeemed himself after missing a couple earlier in the game. Um, so yeah, it was it was an exciting end.
That's insane. And then, of course, this is the only league where we tie in, and Shmee and I had a 100-point tie. So frustrating. And then I got on I listened to this podcast, and the guy was saying, like, first line was like, if anyone had DK Metcalf and lost by less than two, we really feel for you, because I don't know why the booth review didn't look at that 2-point conversion play where he caught it. I guess maybe Seattle can't challenge it because it's a scoring play and they would lose the timeout. But then I don't know why upstairs didn't review it. Anyway. And then, of
Interesting.
course,
Yeah, I had no idea.
so we freaking tied. I mean, that's a heavyweight fight. 200-point teams tying it. That sucks.
Hmm.
It's better than losing, but still. Um, anyway, you want to get into the matchups?
Sure. We'll just go in the order that they are here. So we can start with me and Shmee. So this will be an interesting matchup. He's got kind of two really good matchups in Lamar at Cincy, and then Jordan Mason against Arizona. The rest of his guys kind of have pretty tough matchups. I guess Ayuk hasn't done much, but he's got a good matchup against Arizona. On my end, Purdy, good matchup against Arizona. Kirk has a good matchup against Indy. Kamara, tough KC defense. I think they're like 31st against running backs. Javonte Williams blows, but so does our waiver wire for running backs. So, um, anyways, I think this game is going to come down to whether or not Purdy can have a big game that doesn't go to Ayuk. Um, and then if Kamara can maybe squeak out a touchdown, um, I need Shmee to have kind of a low scoring week, I think, for me to really beat him. And if last night's any indication, he got 17 points from his kicker, even though he missed a field goal. So he could have had an even bigger night. Although I did hit a parlay last night about his kicker. So um,
You hedged against his kicker?
I took Atlanta over 1.5 field goals, and I took Godwin under 66 receiving yards.
Oh yeah.
So
Unfortunately, Godwin was like getting peppered in the first half, and then, like we already kind of said earlier, that Tampa Bay just didn't do anything in the second half because they thought they were coasting to a win, and they ended up losing.
yeah,
He
they
went to
were.
Evans in the end zone, but Godwin was getting a chunk of yards every drop back. It seemed like he was targeting him. Just kind of unfortunate that Mike Evans is 6 whatever and just a huge target in the end zone, that Baker and him have a good rapport. So Evans is stealing a lot of the big points from Godwin there. But yeah, I mean, I hate to bully up on you, but I just think Shmee's got the better team top to bottom. I'm not the biggest Purdy fan, but maybe him versus Kyler is a really high scoring shootout and you can get a points from there. But Kirk hasn't done much. Not that Indy's defense is that great. And like you said, Williams kind of sucks. Mahomes should find Kelsey a lot more. So that kind of helps you there. Pickens against Dallas, maybe Diggs is on Pickens. Um, I'm not the biggest Justin Fields believer either, but I just think with Lamar against Cincy's run defense, their run defense is absolutely terrible, and they like lost their best run stopper in free agency, and it's kind of showed this year. I think Chuba Hubbard played against them and had a ton of catches and points out of the backfield, and so I could see Lamar taking off against Cincinnati. Ayuk hasn't done much. I think that's his one weak point. Brees Hall had a 1 point game against me last week, which was I loved because I could have been way worse. I think he bounces back even against a tough Minnesota team. He's kind of contradicting himself there with the Minnesota, Brees Hall defense running back situation there. But we kind of thought Shmee was one running back away from being really good, and I think he's got a really good team. Could maybe improve on the wide receivers. I'm assuming he has somebody out. Oh yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're catching him on that bye week, so Shmee's just going to be a force like he has been for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think Deontay Johnson is a great, kind of diamond in the rough receiver on a really crappy team. But with Dalton, he's just peppering him with targets. So I'm sorry, CT. I got to go Shmee. I think this is going to be a Shmee victory.
Oh, a Schmictory. I agree.
A victory, yeah.
I agree. So, all right. Well, we're in agreement on that one. Let's go back to league overview. Next, we get Jack versus Scales.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So, Jack's team, Mr. Mahomey, has not lived up to his billing so far, but Jack's rolling with him. Neither has Garrett Wilson. Debo's been in and out, but he's back and apparently healthy. A-Chain has not lived up to his. Jack's team has, just in general, has not produced to the level that I kind of thought they would early on. So maybe this is a get right spot for him, but I don't know that Mahomes is going to go lights out because Rice is out. And then over on the other side, Jaden Daniels, the Cleveland defense is pretty tough. The Kansas City defense is pretty good against number one wide receiver, so Olave's got a tough matchup. I don't trust Etienne. Bijan only scored 7. I mean, this could be a pretty low-scoring game. I could see it ending up in a tie, like 75-75 or something like that.
Yeah. He's got to pick a different defense Scales. Like, why you want Jaden Daniels to score all the points against the defense? That's not really optimizing the lineup there. But just the quick overview, I think Jack has the better people on paper. When you like after the draft, you would probably say, yeah, going into week 1, I'd pick Jack with Mahomes and Wilson and Samuel against Olave and Thomas. But I'm gonna go skills with this one. I think Jaden Daniels has been playing really well. The Cleveland defense is pretty tough, but I think they're missing somebody that's going to be hurt. But anyway, Jaden Daniels has completely revived that team. Cliff Kingsbury has done really well with Jaden. So New Orleans hasn't played that great a defense, but just Mahomes has not been himself. He lost Rice. I don't expect Mahomes to get very many points. I'd be shocked if he hit the 19 projected. So I'm gonna say Jaden's gonna have more. Olave against Wilson, that might be a wash. Like Minnesota's defense is pretty good. Thomas for Samuel. Thomas has been kind of a breakout guy in Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville's down. I really like Hubbard out of the backfield. Hubbard played or Pollard, who's kind of a good pass catching back, did really well week 1 against Chicago, and he had a long touchdown. So I like Hubbard over Brown. I like Bowers over Pitts, even though Pitts got 8 points. Um, if he had played Mooney, this would already be over. Uh, ETN hasn't done that great. I think Tank Bigsby's been like either out rushing him or out touching him, which kind of stinks. But um, I think if Scales gets another defense, I'm gonna go Scales here.
Yeah, I think I will too. I think just Jaden Daniels is on too much of a heater right now. Um, and yeah, I'll go Scales as well. Although I don't be surprised if this is the lowest scoring matchup of the week.
I will agree
Um,
with that.
and then B, if we have our second tie of the year.
Are people missing big components on buys?
I know Detroit's out on a bye, so when we get to Nels, he's missing Gibbs and you're missing
Um,
Monty.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I guess Jack lost Rice too. That sucks.
yeah, to injury.
Okay, I didn't know he had Rice. Yeah, that sucks for Jack.
So, all right. Well, I
But
think we're
he
both
has,
going Scales.
yeah.
So, okay, let me go to matchups here. Let's go to the next one. The next one is our reigning champion, RO, versus our reigning basement dweller, Bryson.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He already got 25 points.
So yeah, London showed out last night. Finally showed the chemistry with Captain Kirk that everyone has been drooling about all off season. Um, so it looks like so RO has Taylor in his lineup who's out, and he's still projected to win. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't see this being particularly close. Um, on Bryson's side, like Stevenson may not even be the starter against Miami. Dowdle's up against a real tough Pittsburgh team. Um, I just, unless Anthony
Yeah.
Richardson, he didn't start Captain Kirk last night, which would have, I think, made it close.
Yeah. I think if he started Kirk, that could have been almost game over. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the weakest teams in the league, unfortunately, just with stuff not panning out. And the 1 year Bryson, gets CMC. He has double Achilles tendonitis. May not be back till November.
Yeah. Well, and
Mark,
Bryson's missing AJ Brown this week.
yeah, are
So
Eagles on a bye?
the Eagles
Yeah.
are on bye. I just remember that. And then over on the other side, Love's got a cake matchup against the Rams, and he's hot after the last game. Um, RO has Taylor's backup and Trey Sermon against a weak Jacksonville run defense. So I imagine that's who he'll end up starting. Um, yeah, I think RO is going to win this one pretty handily.
I do too. Sucks for Bryson having to start, Dowdle and Dobbs. Yeah, and then Mark Andrews. I mean, it's like likely went off the first week, and then all Baltimore has been doing is running. Neither Andrews or Likely have really been involved much, so just up and down his roster, not the greatest.
Yep.
So we'll both go over there.
Yep. All right. Can I scroll down and see the matchups? Oh yeah, I can do it this way. Okay. So next is CB versus Taylor. CB is also dealing with some injury luck. He lost Tua and then by extension Tyreek. And then Taylor's been the hard luck loser. He's got the most points against him this year by a wide margin.
Yeah.
You look at Taylor's team, I actually like Taylor's team quite a bit. He's got three really good receivers and four actually. He didn't start Mike Evans last night. So we've got a couple touchdowns on his bench.
It's in hindsight, but I just can't believe he has Harrison, Chase, and Evans. Like that's an insanely good three.
I figured he would have had Walker in for Moss and then had Evans in one of his receiver spots because it really.
I mean, it's hindsight, but yeah,
right.
That would have made logical sense if he had put that, not just
Yeah,
it's not like Evan. It's not like Mooney with scales. Like Mooney, I could kind of see you don't really want to start, but Mike Evans, I mean, I don't know how you sit him.
right. Well, that be that as it may, looking at CB's team, I just don't know that there's enough here. I think Gino would have to have just a huge game, and CD Lamb would have to overcome a real tough Pittsburgh defense in order for CB to have a chance. And so, similar to the last matchup, I think this one's going to be Taylor pretty handily.
Yeah, CB's got two backup running backs, or just not workhorse running backs and then I'm not really that high in Keenan Allen. CB has probably the best kicker in the league. But that's about it. Yeah, I mean, Gino could have a big game against the New York Giants. Their secondary is pretty bad, but then the guy he paid for the most, I think Tyreek, has still got Huntley passing to him. He's not going to do anything, especially in a non PPR league. So yeah, just I mean, Taylor's got so many weapons. This should be Taylor pretty easy.
Yeah. All right, so we both agree on that one. Next is this one may already be decided. So Jerry, the third place team, versus Murph, the sixth place team. So um, Murph may be relying on Caleb Williams here in what could be a decent matchup against Carolina. Diggs with a revenge game against Buffalo. Um, Kyron that's a middling matchup against Green Bay. Najee has a real good matchup against Dallas, although he's looked terrible this year. And I assume he'll pick up a kicker at some point. Over on your side, Baker got you off to a great start. Bucky Irving kind of, he could have had a little bit bigger game had he not fumbled away at the end. He probably would have had a few more touches and picked up some more yards because he was milking out the clock for them. Um, Justin Jefferson is going to be going up against Sauce Gardner, so we'll see who gets the best of that matchup. Uh,
One point on that though with Jefferson, I hope he goes off, but Darnold's been kind of spreading the ball around more than I thought. I guess Sauce Gardner is one unique corners that he only stays on one side of the field. He's not one of those that like Surtain that shadows the number one. It's kind of weird. So um, if I was a coach and knew that, I would just put Jefferson on the other side the whole time. But that's kind of what I've heard is that, yeah, he'll go against Sauce sometimes, but it's not like, hey, Sauce, you're on Jefferson every time you're in man kind of deal. It's they do a certain side of the field.
Interesting. I did. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the Darrell Revis deal. So,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, so and Jefferson's the only receiver in the league who scored in all four games so far. So,
Hope he keeps it going.
yeah, let's hope he keeps it going. So, DK's got a good matchup against the Jets. Jacobs has a good matchup. I see you've got Jaden Reed, my boy, in there, who's got a good matchup against the Rams.
Yeah.
And Love is back. I just think at the end of the day, so Murph's got a Derrick Henry is on a heater right now and has a really good matchup against Cincinnati.
For sure.
And Najee's got a really good matchup against Dallas, but I just don't trust Caleb Williams to do anything yet. I've been actively rooting against him since he left OU. So I just think you've got too much. I think your team's too deep, Jerry. So I'm gonna roll with you in this one. I think it could end up being closer than you think, especially if Henry goes nuclear again. But I think you're gonna win by 10 or 12 points.
Yeah, I haven't trusted Caleb yet either. He got off to a rough start and then had a decent game against Indy. He had to throw it 52 times and got 25 points, so not that efficient. Baker getting off to the start that he did in the first half was really key. If Baker had only gotten what he projected and Irving fumbled, I think this could be a closer game because, like you said, Henry is on an absolute heater, almost ran for 200 yards last game, and then is going against Cincinnati, who we've already described in another matchup. Terrible run defense and lost their best run stopper in free agency, so they haven't really been able to stop the run. He's got three great two great running backs. Harris should be better in the Arthur Smith system, but Arthur Smith always, trades out running backs, and so it's kind of hard to be consistent. Um, so yeah, he's got a stack with if Williams finds a Dunze a couple times, he could make it interesting. Diggs is in a pretty big three receiver set with Nico, who CJ Stroud's been finding a lot. So Diggs not the most explosive wide receiver on Houston. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna cover him if yeah, I just don't trust Caleb like you did either. I hope he plays a little bit better, but hopefully not too well where Murph overtakes me. Yeah, Neighbors being out kind of sucks, but having a good backup, and I think he's been finding Reed a ton. I watched a lot of that Green Bay Minnesota game, and it was a great game script for Love and the receivers. But I mean, Jaden Reed was open, and they give him jet sweeps, they give him screen passes, so they really get him involved in the offense, and he is speedy. Pretty sure he's a Spartan too, so I like seeing him dominate.
Yeah, you need to
I
trade him
think
to
he
me,
is.
Jerry.
I know you and Scales have both been asking for him.
Yeah, hook me
Yeah,
up.
he did go to Michigan State.
He's not getting traded. So you
I
you
mean,
have such deep
I do need to.
receivers, Jerry.
I know
You're
if
sick.
I wasn't playing Murph this week, I may talk to him this weekend. It was like, hey, after this week, let's try and make a trade because I need to maybe try and get Henry or Kyron, buff up the running backs a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Because
good luck,
Jacobs isn't
Jerry.
great, but he's not the worst, and Baker basically offset what Bucky fumbled, in the projected. So hopefully projections stay close to what they are, and I can get another victory instead of a freaking tie.
Well, good luck, man. I think you're going to pull it out. So, all right, that leaves one matchup here. Gary versus Nels. Nels finds himself in second place despite being middle of the pack in points scored. Meanwhile, Gary's in the middle of the pack. And let's take a look. So, um, this is just recent. I just saw this. So he's got Jerry Allen going, and he's going to be without his top wideout. Khalil Shakur is out for this
Ooh.
weekend's game.
Hmm.
So although I don't know that it'll matter much, he's still got Dalton Kincaid, and he can still take off running. So I just feel like Josh Allen's going to get his regardless. Um, CJ Stroud, on the other hand, going up against Buffalo. Buffalo is more of a run funnel defense as opposed to a pass funnel defense, and so um, who has the running back for Houston? Gary does. So Cam Akers is starting. Joe Mixon's not expected to play, and I don't think Damian Pierce is either. Um,
Dang, that sucks.
yeah, so just kind of new injury news coming in hot. Um, Well, looking at Gary's team overall, like between Jerry Allen, he's dealing with injuries to Mixon, and he lost Pacheco. Um, I know he'll pick up a kicker and get someone in there. Um, so I think it'll be decent. I think this is going to be somewhat of a low scoring game. Over on the other side, I don't think Brian Robinson's expected to play. Um, and DeAndre Swift has looked like poop except for one game. And so I just don't know will the real DeAndre Swift please stand up? I don't know what's going to happen. Um, Michael Pittman, I think that'll depends on if Flacco or Richardson plays. If Richardson is playing, I think that lowers Pittman's floor and ceiling. Um, but I think this game is really going to come down to are CJ Stroud and Nico Collins able to hook up like they have been so far this season. Um, if so, I think Nels will win pretty handily. But if not, I wouldn't be surprised for Gary to win kind of a lower scoring game. I could see him pulling out like an 80-75 type victory over Nels. This one, I'm on the fence. So I'm
Yeah,
yeah, I'm on
I
the
am
fence.
too.
and Nels has got Devontae Adams, who's not playing this weekend either in his starting lineup. So he'll get, I think he's got Zay Flowers on his bench, so he'll get him in there. The problem is, there's no running back available that he'll be able to put in for Brian Robinson. Um, so unless he tries to
Let's
trade or something, like
go to
the
the bench.
way, yeah, I don't think he has anyone on his bench. He's got Raheem Mostert, who may or may not play. He's got Zamir White, who is supposed to get benched. So
You should
he's
go
missing.
pick up. Does someone own Madison?
Yep, yep. Bryson does.
That's ugly.
So yeah, it's not pretty. So
With
again, I
those
think
moves, are you sure? Are you sure both Adams and Robinson aren't playing? Because if that's true, then I think just with the handcuffs, that was Thursday. So Devontae could practice today, but maybe not likely.
look, this is an update. 11:53. Robinson is trending in the right direction to play Week 5 against the Browns.
Yeah.
So it's he was a DNP Wednesday and
Yeah.
Thursday. So this is that's a positive development. So if Robinson plays and actually plays a full complement of snaps, I do think Nels will. Again, it all depends on if Stroud and Nico hook up. Buffalo's been, I think, a tough defense against quarterbacks and wide receivers, though.
Mhm.
Um, so I think they're going to do everything they can, especially with Mixon being out, to make Houston beat them on the ground, which plays right into Gary's
Yeah.
wheelhouse here, having Akers starting. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Gary in an upset here.
I have Gary as well. I know Nels isn't going to like to hear that, but with the moves that he may have to make with on the bench, um, I just like Josh Allen. I don't know. This could go either way. I think this is going to be 78-76. I mean, I know that's kind of what the projections say, but I really kind of see it that way. Um, Now that not Cameron, what's his name? Christian Watson, I think Wicks was a great pickup. Cooper hasn't done much, but they could be in a script where they're down because Jaden Daniels is throwing all over them, and they have to throw to Cooper a lot. Leggett is a good was one of the he got two of the best pickups of the week in Wicks and Leggett. Um, and then Trey McBride hasn't done anything. I don't really trust Swift. I think last week was an outlier. He's lucky, if Robinson plays, that'll give him a good chance to win. So yeah, kind of I agree with your analysis. It's going to come down to Stroud Collins. If they do really well, then it's Nels. If they do if they just do mediocre, I think Gary's going to have enough to overcome that. And obviously, if they do well, then Nels isn't going to win.
Yeah, I will add on. You mentioned Amari Cooper hasn't done much. He had an 80-yard touchdown called back last week by some phantom holding penalty. Um, and I
Yeah,
think he's like top 10 in expected fantasy points per game, but is like 40th in actual fantasy points per game. So I think he's been held back a little bit by quarterback play. If the Browns make a switch to famous Jameis, or even if Deshaun can just get a little more accurate, I think Cooper could have a big game. And Washington is cake matchup on paper, so I can see Cooper having a big game.
yeah, it's true. I think Washington has one of the best or worst defenses in the NFL. Yeah, this is a very interesting one. Yeah, we both picked Gary, but low scoring. So who's going to have the most points? RO probably. He's already got 25 from London, and he
Well,
still has Love and.
he's got JT out though.
But he picked up Sermon, so I mean I know
You
JT
know,
isn't Sermon, but he got the guy to, especially with how thin our the waiver wire is for running backs. That's a good guy to have.
yeah.
Oh, Shmee's projected for the most. That stinks for you.
I know, I know. So might just have to go ahead and put all my guys on bye, tell them not to play, and save their energy for next week.
You never know. I mean, Brees Hall was projected for like 15 last week or 14, and he only got 1 point. So maybe you'll get something like that. But yeah, not looking good to
Yeah,
start.
yeah, we'll see. So
All right.
yeah, I don't know who's going to score the most. We'll see. So, but anyways, all right, Jerry. Well, this was fun, man. Good luck
Yeah,
to everyone except Shmee, and we will be back hopefully next week.
should be.
Yeah. So, all right. Take
Thanks,
care,
CT.
everyone. Hold on just a second, Jerry. Let me hit end here. Stop recording.